Welcome to my channel HFY Story Hub. A silent signal drifted through the void, too weak to be noticed, too strange to be ignored, and too dangerous to answer. Because it wasn't a distress call. It was a child crying in the dark between stars. And the moment the galaxy realized that, everything stopped. Not one fleet moved. Not one council spoke. Because there was a rule older than empires. A rule carved into every civilization after the first interstellar war. Never touch a child. Never. Under any circumstances. But this time, the child wasn't human. And the ones who found it were. The galaxy called them young. Unpredictable. Emotional. Violent when pushed too far. Humans. 27,000 civilizations agreed on one thing. You never know what humans will do next. And now, something fragile had fallen into their hands. A child. Lost in empty space. Alone in a broken capsule drifting without direction. And the signal was getting weaker. On the human cargo vessel Artemis Drift, silence broke like glass. "Captain, you need to see this." Lieutenant Cade's voice trembled as he stared at the scanner. Captain Elena Voss didn't rush. She never did. But something in his tone made her move faster than thought. On the screen, there it was. A pulse. Irregular. Faint. Not machine. Not beacon. Biological. Alive. Elena leaned closer. "What am I looking at?" Cade swallowed hard. Something thinking. The bridge went cold. Even a ship's AI paused before responding. "Analysis incomplete," it said. "Signal does not match known biology." Elena's eyes narrowed. Distance. 3 light hours. Alone in open space. No ships. No debris fields. Nothing. Nothing except a living mind drifting in the void. And slowly fading. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the calm officer whispered, "Captain, if that's real, it won't survive long." Elena stood still. Human instinct did not ask questions. It answered them. "Change course," she said. Cade blinked. "Captain's protocol requires confirmation." She turned toward him. And that was enough. There was no anger in her eyes. Only certainty. "There's something alive out there," she said quietly. "And it's alone." A pause. Then she added, "We're going to it." The Artemis Drift shifted direction. Slowly at first, then faster, cutting through silence like a blade through water. As they closed in, the signal sharpened, weak but stable. Cade stared at the readings. "It's still there, but barely. Whatever it is, it's small." "Or injured," Elena said. No one corrected her, because the truth was worse. It was dying. 40 minutes later, the object appeared. A capsule, 2 meters long, oval-shaped, cracked along one side like something had tried to tear it open. Alien metal, unknown design, no markings, no distress beacon, just drifting death. The scanners confirmed it immediately. One life form inside, the AI said. Biological signature extremely weak. Elena stepped closer to the viewport and felt something she hated. Silence that felt wrong. Like the universe was holding its breath. "Docking clamps ready," Cade said. Elena didn't answer right away, because something about it felt sacred. Not in a religious way. In a warning way. A rule breaking itself. A truth too old to ignore. "First contact protocols?" Cade asked again. Elena finally spoke. "Forget them." The bridge froze. She continued, softer now. "There's no diplomacy with a dying child." A beat. Then, "Bring it aboard." The docking procedure took minutes that felt like hours. Metal locked. Systems aligned. Pressure stabilized. And then the capsule was inside. Inside human space. Inside human air. Inside human responsibility. The cargo bay lights flickered as the doors opened. Cold vapor spilled across the floor. And there it was. Still. Broken. Waiting. Elena stepped into the bay with 2 crew members behind her. The capsule was worse up close. A deep dent along one side. Energy scars across its surface. Something had hit it hard and left it to die. Cade whispered, "It shouldn't still be intact." "It shouldn't still be alive," Elena replied. She knelt beside it. Her hand hovered over the seam. "Can we open it safely?" she asked. The engineer shook his head. "Unknown locking system. Could be fragile. Could be defensive." Elena looked at it for a long moment, then said the words that would later echo across the galaxy. "Then we do it carefully." It took 20 minutes. Slow, delicate, risking everything. Every second stretched too long. Every sound felt too loud. Then, click. A soft mechanical release. The capsule opened. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Inside was a child. Not human. Small. Fragile. Curled inward like it was trying to disappear. For arms held itself tightly. Skin dark blue. Glowing faintly, with pulsing lines like a heartbeat made of light. Eyes closed. Breathing uneven. Alive. Barely. Elena forgot everything she knew. Politics. Protocol. War. All of it vanished. Because there was only one truth left in the cargo bay. A child was suffering. And humans did not ignore that. Behind her, Cade whispered without realizing it. "Oh God." The AI logged nothing. Even it didn't know how to categorize what it was seeing. Elena slowly reached forward. Careful. Gentle. Like touching fire that might decide to burn or heal. And the moment her hands came close, the child moved slightly. A breath. A flicker of awareness. Its glowing lines brightened just a little. And somewhere deep in space, a fleet of unknown ships just activated their engines. The moment the child moved, the galaxy answered. Not with words. Not with warnings. But with engines. Far beyond the Artemis Drift, in the dark between systems, ancient ships awakened one by one. Not human ships. Not merchant vessels. Not explorers. Something else. Something vast. On the cargo bay floor, Captain Elena Voss didn't notice the change outside the ship. She only saw the child breathe. A shallow inhale. A tremor through its glowing body. Then stillness again. But it was enough. Medical team. Elena shouted. Lena, the ship's doctor, rushed in instantly with a portable field kit. "Get stabilizers ready," Elena ordered. "Now." Cade stared at the creature. "Captain, it's reacting to us." "I see it," Elena said. The glowing lines on its skin pulsed faster now, reacting to proximity, to warmth, to presence. Not fear. Recognition. Lena carefully lifted the child from the capsule. It was lighter than expected. Almost unreal. Like holding something that didn't belong to gravity. "Temperature is critical," Lena said. "It's close to hypothermia." "Fix it," Elena replied immediately. No hesitation. No debate. Human instinct again. Solve. Protect. Preserve. As the child was moved to the medical bay, the ship suddenly shuddered. A soft vibration. Then another. Cade froze. "Captain, we're being scanned." Elena turned sharply. "Source?" Multiple signatures outside the system. "No, wait." His voice dropped. "Not multiple. Massive." The AI confirmed it a second later. "Warning. Unidentified fleet emergence detected." The screen filled with red markers. Dozens, then hundreds, then more. All converging. All moving toward them. Silence spread across the bridge. Even the engines felt quieter. Elena stood still for only a moment, then spoke. "Open channel." Cade hesitated. "To who?" Elena looked at the screen of incoming signals. Every direction. Every frequency. Every known galactic emergency band. "They're all talking at once," Cade said. "Captain, I think they're all coming here." "Then they'll hear us too," she said. The first transmission arrived seconds later. Not translated. Not softened. Raw. A layered voice of multiple translators collapsing over each other. "Identify your species. Confirm child status. Stand by for recovery." Cade looked at Elena. "They think we took him." Elena's jaw tightened. "Of course they do." Another signal followed instantly. Stronger. Closer. "This is Valnari Authority Fleet. You are holding a high-value genetic heir. Any resistance will be considered hostile intent." The bridge went cold. Hostile intent. Against a cargo ship. Elena didn't move.
Reply, she said. Cade blinked.
Captain, there are warships out there. I know. They're not here to negotiate. I know that too. She stepped forward and gave the simplest order in human history. Reply anyway. The transmission went out. Simple.
Clear.
Unarmed. This is Captain Elena Voss of the Artemis Drift. The child is alive. Injured. Under medical care. No harm has been done. We are holding position. A pause. Then she added, "We will not allow harm to come to him." The response was instant. Too instant. "You do not have authority to determine custody." Elena leaned closer to the console. "We don't care." Cade almost choked. "Captain." But she didn't stop. "We found a dying child in space," she said into the channel. "We didn't ask who he belonged to. We asked how to keep him alive." Silence. A long one. Then, "You are young species. Emotional instability expected. Stand down." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Emotional instability," she repeated softly. She glanced toward the medical bay behind her, where the child was breathing. Alive. Barely. And something inside her clicked. Not anger. Something colder. Sharper. "No," she said into the channel. "That's not instability." A pause. "That's responsibility." The fleet emerged fully into sensor range. Cade saw them and went pale. "Captain, there are at least 7 capital-class vessels. They're surrounding us." Elena didn't look away from the screen. "I see them. They could erase us in seconds." "I know." Another transmission arrived. "This is your final warning. Return the child." Elena turned slightly, just enough to glance at the medical bay again, where the tiny alien lay under soft light, breathing now, slightly stronger, and for the first time, safe. She turned back and spoke one sentence. It would later be recorded in Galactic archives as the moment everything changed. "No." The channel exploded in static. Cade looked at her in shock. "Captain, what did you just—" Elena raised a hand. "Listen." Outside the ship, engines shifted. Not attack formation. Not retreat. Repositioning. The fleet wasn't firing. It was waiting, watching, judging. Then a new signal arrived. Slower. Heavier. Older. "This is Supreme Valnari Command Vessel. You are endangering a sovereign heir. State your intent." Elena stepped closer to the console and answered honestly. "Our intent is simple." She paused. Cade held his breath. "To keep him alive." Silence. For the first time, no immediate response came. Inside the medical bay, the child stirred again. Lena leaned over the monitors. "Captain, his vitals are improving." Elena closed her eyes briefly. Relief small but real. Then, the ship AI spoke. "Warning. External docking request detected." Cade snapped his head up. "From who?" The answer came instantly. "All vessels." Elena opened her eyes. The fleet wasn't waiting anymore. It was coming closer. Slowly. Carefully. Like something afraid of what it might find. Or what it might become. And then the final transmission of the part arrived. Not translated. Not filtered. Direct from command. "Prepare for transfer." Or "prepare for consequences." Elena stared at the screen. Behind her, the medical bay doors slid open slightly. Warm light spilled out. A tiny hand moved, reaching, not in fear, in search. And Elena Voss made her decision. She turned back to the channel and said, "Try." The word "try" didn't echo across the bridge. It shattered the silence of an entire armada. For 3 long seconds, the galaxy itself seemed to hesitate. 7 Valnari war fleets hung in orbit around a single human cargo ship. Weapons online. Sensors locked. Yet nothing fired. Because for the first time in recorded history, they were unsure. Cade's hands trembled over the console. "Captain, they've stopped advancing." Elena Voss didn't blink. "Not stopped," she corrected quietly. "Waiting." Waiting for what? Elena looked at the screen filled with alien signatures. Waiting to see what kind of monsters we are. Inside the medical bay, the child stirred. Soft light rippled across its blue skin. The glowing lines pulsed faster now, reacting to presence, to warmth, to something deeper than biology. Recognition. Lena leaned over the monitor. Vitals stabilizing, but something strange. Elena stepped in. What kind of strange? Lena hesitated. It's not just healing, it's responding emotionally. Elena frowned. Explain. Lena pointed at the scanner. When you're near him, his neural activity syncs to yours. Silence. Then Cade whispered from the doorway. So he feels us? Lena nodded slowly. Yes. Outside the ship, the fleet shifted again. Not attack formation. Not defensive. A third pattern. Unknown even to human tactical systems. Cade swallowed. They're requesting contact again. Elena nodded. Open channel. The screen flickered. A new voice emerged.
Deeper.
Older. Controlled. This is Supreme Valnari Command Vessel. Confirm intent of custody. Elena stepped forward. We are not holding him hostage. A pause. You are not authorized guardians. Elena's eyes hardened. We didn't ask for authorization. Silence. That line landed differently, even across species. The voice returned, slower now. You risk interstellar conflict for an unknown life form. Elena didn't hesitate. We didn't calculate risk. Another pause. We reacted. Cade glanced at her. Captain, they don't understand that answer. Elena replied quietly. Then they're not looking at the same universe we are. Suddenly, the fleet changed position again. This time closer, but not aggressive. Intentional. Controlled. Docking signals activated across multiple ships.
Cade froze.
They're boarding us. Elena nodded once. Let them. Minutes later, the airlocks engaged. 7 Valnari ships connected to the Artemis drift. But what entered was not an invasion force. It was something far more dangerous to assumptions. It was fear and hope, walking together. The Supreme Valnari himself stepped aboard, towering, for arms folded tightly, golden eyes scanning everything, every detail, every human face, every breath. He stopped when he saw the medical bay door, and something in his posture broke slightly, just for a moment. Elena stepped forward alone. No weapons, no guards, just a human standing in a corridor barely wide enough for diplomacy. The translator activated. You are the captain. Yes. You found him. Yes. A long pause. You could have used him. Elena's eyes narrowed.
No.
Silence. The Valnari studied her carefully. You did not request reward.
No.
You did not request leverage.
No.
A pause that stretched too long. Then, why? Elena turned her head slightly, toward the glowing light of the medical bay, toward the small breathing life inside, and said simply, because he was alone. The Valnari did not respond immediately. For the first time, the translator struggled, then failed, then tried again. Finally, it produced. There is no strategic value in your action. Elena nodded. I know. Another pause. Then, and yet you acted. Yes. Why? Elena exhaled slowly, and this time her voice softened. Because someone had to. Silence. The kind that changes civilizations. Inside the medical bay, the child moved again. Its glowing lines flared brighter. It turned its head toward the doorway. And then it smiled.
Small.
Fragile. Perfectly unafraid. The Valnari father stepped forward suddenly, for the first time losing composure. He entered the medical bay. The moment he saw the child alive, everything collapsed. Control. Authority. Distance. All of it. He knelt, for arms trembling slightly as they wrapped around the child. And the galaxy's most powerful being held something smaller than his hand, as if the universe itself depended on it. Elena remained at the doorway, watching, not interfering, because this was not a political moment, not a military one. A human one would have called it something else entirely, a parental moment. After a long silence, the Valnari leader stood again. He looked at Elena, and the translator spoke softly. You are young species. Elena nodded. Yes.
A pause.
You do not understand consequences fully. Elena almost smiled. We understand enough. Another silence. Then, we misjudged you. Elena replied quietly. It happens. The Valnari made a gesture. For arms moving in a pattern too complex for human linguistics, the translator failed again, then gave up entirely. But the meaning wasn't in translation. It was in presence. Respect. Not given. Recognized. Hours later, the fleet prepared to depart. The child, Valsa, was stable now, resting safely. Alive because a cargo ship changed course. In the docking corridor, the Valnari father paused before leaving. He looked at Elena one final time, then placed one hand over his chest, and repeated the gesture the child had once made. Elena mirrored it, awkwardly, but correctly enough. As the fleet vanished into the stars, Cade finally spoke. Captain, what do we call this? Elena watched the empty void, and answered, We call it normal. A pause. For us. Far away, across 7 civilizations, a single report was archived. Not as warning, not as diplomacy, but as truth. Humanity does not respond to power. It responds to life. And in the Valnari records, one final line was added by the Supreme Coordinator himself. Never assume weakness in a species that refuses to abandon a child in the dark.